On tonight's episode of Three Bros Sports, brought to you by Anchor FM, we're going over the NBA 25-game checkpoint, the current Bonanza going on in San Diego with the MLB winter meetings, the NFL playoff picture, future matchups this week, and also Thursday night picks. But first,
shut up and sit down.
Yeah, welcome back to another Three Bros Sports episode. I'm Connor.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Christoph.
And it's just three college kids who can go on about sports forever. And this episode, we did say on the last, or I did personally say on the last episode, that was one of the most important ones of 2019. But this one also ranks right up there as right now it's just NBA 25-game checkpoint of the 82-game season. And there's a lot of surprises going on right now, especially the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of teams are doing really well, but the Milwaukee Bucks have won 16 in a row. And almost nobody but the Three Bros Sports are going to be talking about them. So let's dive right into it. I mean, just one stat to throw out there. They have not scored less than 100 points this entire season. It's been 100 plus every single game, averaging 120 per game. Is this going to be a possibility that they can do this every single game for the rest of the year?
I mean, being able to hold that for an entire 82-game season is next to impossible, but I definitely think that they could be a real threat for the rest of the year. Probably at least looking at less than 20 losses at the very least. I like this team's chances so far, at least if they can continue to play like that. They seem to have a lot of good chemistry if you're able to put up over 100 a game.
Yeah, they've done a really good job so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for other teams to, make up that difference in, points margin. I'm pretty sure they have the highest points margin per game.
Yeah.
Out of all the teams. So they're picking up hot off of last year, and even more so, they're playing even better than they were last year. So, I agree with what you said. Probably less than 20 losses, and it's going to be tough to keep it up. But I definitely, don't see them falling off too much.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis has taken another step up, as I personally thought it would almost be impossible for him to top how great he did last year, besides the three-point shooting, but he's still finding ways to do it. He's averaging almost 31 a game, shooting 56% from the field. He's shooting 32% from three, which isn't great, but knowing Giannis' struggles since he came to the league, that's good improvement. But The best part so far is that they actually have a lot more pieces around him. Now, it's not a lot of big-name players, but Kyle Korver, Wesley Matthews, another rebounder, Robin Lopez, like these are actually really important additions. Like Wesley Matthews shooting 40% from three right now, and that's crucial for a team like Milwaukee because they need as many floor stretchers as possible to fit around Giannis.
Yeah, they really did. Honestly, I think it's kind of amazing the turnaround this team's had because think about a couple of years ago. I mean, this team was just bottom of the league, even with Giannis, and now all of a sudden they're arguably the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think bringing in Eric Bledsoe was a definitely underrated move. It seems ever since they brought him in, that's kind of seems where it took off. Yeah, once they brought him onto the team. I'm not saying that he was the catalyst, but it all happened in the same time frame.
Well, it's kind of like, I'll just use the Niners as a reference. It's like they were doing really well, but then when Emmanuel Sanders came in, it's like he kind of took it to that next level. But the biggest thing to me has been when Budenholzer got hired. That's where the difference was made because the Bucks almost had the same exact team with Jason Kidd as head coach, and they were barely struggling to make playoffs. And they lost first round to Boston, I think it was to Boston, and they just had no sense of direction. But Budenholzer comes in, basically the same system, almost the same exact players. Well, he produces one of the best teams in all of basketball that it's like almost impossible to stop. Especially with how athletic Giannis is, they lead the NBA in pace as well. So it's tough to catch up to him. It's basically a track meet, but even if they slowed it down into like a half-court set, Giannis just decides to post up on whoever's playing point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, and I mean, who else in the East do you see keeping up with them?
I mean, everyone in the East, there are teams that are doing well, like Miami, but
Miami's second right now in the East.
Yeah,
18-6.
Honestly, I think they're one of the biggest surprises this year.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's playing really well down in South Beach.
Yeah, I had them as a top 5 team for the East, but I didn't have second going 18-6 coming to the 25-game checkpoint. That was really surprising to me of how quickly Jimmy Butler has came in and changed everything, because last year the Heat didn't have a real identity as of what they were trying to do. They just had a lot of like B-list type players that are normally like a good role player on a contending team. And they just didn't mesh well enough. That's why they missed the playoffs. But this year, once they had Butler, everything fell into place. Like Kendrick Nunn. Did you guys ever hear about that guy's name before he came to the league? Now he's averaging like 19 a game.
Definitely not, no.
No, I did not.
And you want to know where he was playing last year?
Where?
The Santa Cruz Warriors, the G League for the Warriors. So the Warriors fans missed out on another great player. But is there any other teams that you guys have kind of been surprised with so far, or maybe disappointed with? I mean, me and Brett went over this a little bit ago, but now it's the 25-game checkpoint. Now we got to really get more official on this.
Brett, do you have any?
One team that has been playing a lot better than I guess I didn't underestimate them. I just kind of didn't really think about them being up there, was the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic playing so well. And, Kristaps Porzingis putting up good numbers. And, all the players were there. It's not a surprise. But that was just one team that I didn't consider.
Yeah, they're really weird because Kristaps, you wouldn't think that he would take a back seat to Luka. You would think there'd maybe a little power struggle of Kristaps coming back. Like, hey, I was the number 1 in New York. I was the top 15 player in the league. I'm not going to go back seat. But he's fully given that up. It's Luka's team. And there's some good pieces around him: Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., JJ Barea. Whenever I see JJ Barea, I think of a guy who was like working at Walmart doing his 9-to-5 shift. He put on his basketball shoes and he got to the stadium with a fake press pass, and he says he's the point guard for the team.
Kind of gives me more the impression of like a bartender or something.
Yeah, maybe that too. Either one of them.
It's like, I played basketball in high school. I got this. I was JV.
I was JV MVP.
Yeah, but you got to be happy. I mean, the Kings beat the Mavs a couple games ago.
Yeah, we ended up beating the Mavs
at like 1 point, but still,
win's
a win.
Well, we were up 24 in the fourth quarter, and then the Kings like to make things a lot closer than it should be. And then we turned around and we beat the Rockets on a buzzer beater, which that was an impressive shot. And then we turned around and beat the Thunder, so 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, I was looking into it, and the Bulls won their first game. They were on a 3-game losing streak, just like the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Except the Timberwolves lost again, so we're now on a 4-game losing streak. And it's
actually 6.
6. Okay. I was saying 4. But
Sorry.
What I did was 4 games since last Thursday when we recorded. So
okay.
Hey, so 6 games.
At least our teams aren't the Pelicans, because the Pelicans have lost 10 in a row right now.
Well, at least we're not the Warriors. Honestly, if you want to talk about disappointment this year, it's definitely Golden State. And I understand that, that starting 5 from last year, it's gone. But Steve Kerr helped coach this team to, I believe, 5 straight NBA Finals appearances.
Yeah.
That team is not that bad on paper without their starting. They still got D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, you would think so. Like, Willie Cauley-Stein was so hyped up for that team, and I've sat back and enjoyed every single second of watching him get booed off by Twitter fans and everybody at Chase Arena. This team actually should be talented. It doesn't make much sense as of what is really going on.
To me, it's one of those things where I feel like this team, like, with all the injuries and everything, probably not a playoff team at that point. I mean, maybe 7 or 8, but you mean to tell me that this guy coached this team to 5 straight finals appearances and now he can't do anything? It kind of makes me wonder how much Steve Kerr played into them making those championships.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, make the argument for that he was, riding the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, KD train. So
well, I personally believe that one of the biggest issues for them was the loss of Andre Iguodala. That was key, and that was a money move to be able to free up for D'Angelo Russell. But it just seemed really tough. And granted that the Warriors next year will have Klay, Steph, Draymond, and D'Lo all together again. So we don't know. I think they'll be decent next year. They'll probably be back to a playoff contending team. but they're not going to be the same that they used to be. It's just weird to see them fall off so quickly, especially when all these role players for them last year were actually producing pretty well. Like they've always had a solid bench, but out of nowhere, it's when they need to step up, they're nowhere to be found.
I think this might be the biggest nosedive I've ever seen a team take from one season to the next.
Speaking of biggest, I really want to now get into the MLB winter meetings, the free agency time, because it has been a freaking bonanza so far with the amount of money going out. Scott Boras, he is a top client for the top players in the MLB. And the three players I really want to talk about, Anthony Rendon, Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, all have combined for over $800 million in contracts. And that's Scott Boras, and he's going to be getting a percentage of that. He could retire right now and be living his life successfully. But I want to start it off with Garrett Cole. He was the prized possession of the 2019 meetings, and he made a shocking move going to the Yankees. I think I could say shocking because it seemed as if he was going to go to Southern California.
Yeah, I think the Yankees have been waiting a while to sign a player like Garrett Cole, and they waited, I think it was 4 years, just waiting for a player like him to be on the market so they could scoop him up. And I know a lot of people thought he was going to go to the Angels just because he was from California.
Yeah, Newport Beach.
Yeah, but he was also grew up being a Yankees fan, so I think that played a big role in it, and he also got, obviously, a great sizable paycheck. So
yeah. 9 years, $324 million.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money. I'm surprised Antonio Brown hasn't tweeted it at the MLB yet.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame Garrett Cole for taking that because you think about it, that's over $300 million, and you're guaranteed the next 9 years. So he's under contract until he's 37, I believe, 37, 38.
38, I 38. Think. But he also, there's an opt-out after year 5. So if he's unhappy with it, he can leave.
But it's just one of those things where I think the only team that would have ever done it was the Yankees. I don't think any other team would have ever really given a pitcher $300 million a year for that extended period of time. And plus, I mean, we can always talk about how the Yankees always buy the best players, but it is still one of those things that it's typical Yankee move because they always like to have that one pitcher that's like, the Hall of Famer already. And they haven't had that since Mariano retired.
Yeah, and now I personally believe that there's a lot of question marks regarding Cole when it comes to going out to New York. I understand throughout the playoffs he looked amazing. But also, this is the New York media he's getting into. And the New York media is a friend of nobody if you slip up once. Giancarlo Stanton, the guy who hit 60 home runs 1 year, gets traded to the Yankees, was being booed off the field in May because he wasn't performing up to par to the Yankees fan standards. The New York media is tough, and it's going to be a real testament of how he's going to be able to thrive. And also, it's going to feel weird seeing him without the beard. No facial hair, because that's the Yankees' rule. You're not allowed to have any facial hair. Hair's got to be cut. It's got to be trimmed up well. They have that rule for some reason. If you remember Brian Wilson, the closer for the Giants back in 2010, the Fear the Beard, or maybe it wasn't his name, wasn't his nickname, but he had a ginormous beard, 6 inches down. He was about to sign a 5-year, $90 million deal with the Yankees. Then the Yankees said, well, you got to follow our procedure and shave the beard. It's like, oh, hell no, I'm not shaving my beard. No, I'm out of here. And he left he left all that money on the table and left. So it's going to be weird without seeing Cole. And especially as an Angel fan, I thought he was definitely a lock. But the Angels turned around real quickly. In less than 24 hours, they turned around and got Anthony Rendon, a star third baseman from the Washington Nationals, who, in my opinion, he probably was the biggest reason why they ended up beating the Astros in the World Series. It was a 7-year, $245 million deal. Batted .320, 34 homers, 129 RBIs. About time the Angels have another star next to Mike Trout.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I think Rendon is definitely a great support guy for Trout. It's just one of those things where the Angels need pitching.
Yeah,
Garrett Cole would have been really nice.
I know.
But, I mean, I'd still be happy with Rendon. You at least get something there. You still got to work on the pitching, but it definitely makes the Angels a better team.
Yeah, and the Angels still have cap room. We have $35 million. Ryu, Bumgarner, Keuchel, they're still available. There's talks about the Angels trading for Corey Kluber and John Gray from the Rockies, which those two are really underrated.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they tied up all their money with Rendon and said, you know what, forget the pitching, we'll just do it another year. They still have the money, and they're actively shopping as of right now. And a team that's got to be actively shopping is the Washington Nationals after losing Rendon. They were into talks for Josh Donaldson. I don't know where it's at right now. But they were able to re-sign their ace, Steven Strasburg. I'm going to call him the ace over Scherzer just because he was homegrown. Scherzer came in through Detroit. So I'm going to give Strasburg the ace look because the money he's making, 7 years, $245 million for a guy who had a 3.3 ERA last year. How much of that, Calvin, you really think that had to do with how well he did in the postseason?
I think, honestly, probably about 90% of it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at least, he had a phenomenal postseason, so there is something to say for that in the highest stakes, but I don't know if the money is necessarily worth that. That being said, though, you do have both Strasburg and Scherzer all on the same team, so...
And don't forget about Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Nationals have a really good pitching lineup.
Oh, yeah. That's the reason why they ended up winning it all was just because of their rotation. That's my honest belief. Because they were able to use Corbin as a long inning reliever. Mm-hmm. And that was almost a spectacular thing to watch because I've always wanted to see the Houston Astros dynasty go down for a little bit. And now they got rid of Jake Marisnick. They're talking about shipping off Carlos Correa. They already lost Cole. Like this, and also Justin Verlander. I don't care that he's 37 and he looked great in the postseason. He's going to decline at some point. And Zach Greinke he's going to go down too. So the downfall is near. But we can go on about the MLB. Once more acquisitions are made or any other big moves, we'll definitely be going over that throughout the next podcast as the winter meetings just started. But one thing that's about to come to an end is the NFL regular season. And it's kind of been a dandy so far when you're looking at the standings for it, just because I think the biggest surprise has to be the AFC East, that the Patriots actually have competition this year with the Bills. Patriots are 10-3, the Bills are 9-4. It's kind of fun to look at it. And even the NFC West of having 3 teams over 500 and all teams that could easily be contending. I mean, you got the Niners 11-2, the Seahawks 10-3. When would you think a team that's 10-3 would be second place in a conference? Isn't that just a rarity in itself?
Yeah, it doesn't deserve it. Just look at the NFC East. I mean, they would be
oh god,
we're leading that division with flying colors.
Yeah, and now let's get into the NFC East because the last team that made it into the playoffs with a losing record was the 2008 or the 2009 Seahawks. They went 7-9 with Matt Hasselbeck at quarterback.
It was the 2014 Panthers.
Oh, and the Panthers too. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
Because my Cardinals lost to them in the playoffs.
I forgot about them. And that was an interesting team as well. But 7-9 is a real possibility of making it in for the NFC East because neither the Cowboys or the Eagles know what they're doing at all.
Yeah.
So if you had to take one of the two teams, who would you go with? Because I feel like the easiest answer is the Cowboys, but they haven't done anything.
I mean, I guess Dallas, just because I think their offense is better than Philadelphia's. Dallas at least has pieces that I can look at and be like, all right, that's a good piece. I'd like to have that. Philly, they got some. I mean, I like Carson Wentz, but I don't know. I just feel like Dallas is a little bit better on paper than Philadelphia is.
I think when Dallas and Philadelphia play each other, I think that it will be the Dallas Cowboys who win that game. But they're both at 6-7 right now. Am I wrong?
No, they both are.
Right. Yes. So, and the Eagles are playing the Redskins this week, and the Cowboys have the Steelers. So I'm thinking that next week the Eagles could be on top of that division, and it's hard to say because they're both so bad. I mean, the Eagles almost had Josh McCown at wide receiver this past week. I mean, they're
so
running
close.
very thin there with injuries, and Carson Wentz, he threw the ball almost 50 times. He's just slinging it out there, trying to do it all by himself, and I don't know who to say, honestly.
It's really tough. And if we went into the playoffs as of right now, for the NFC, the Niners and Packers would get their bye. AFC, it's the Ravens and Patriots. But here's one that I personally will admit I was wrong. I'll take all blame on this. If the playoffs started right now, the 3-6 would be Pittsburgh and Kansas City. I don't understand how Pittsburgh's in the playoffs, but my hat goes off to Mike Tomlin for coaching this offense that's been just abysmal with Juju not performing, James Conner being injured like every other week. I don't understand how they did it. And that was a ballsy move to get Minkah Fitzpatrick week 2. I thought that was an awful idea, but it paid off, and that's why I'm just sitting here doing a podcast. I'm no general manager in the NFL.
No, I mean, you really have to give a lot of credit to Mike Tomlin. I know really the last couple of years, people have been calling for his job. Like, there's no tomorrow. I'm like, the guy has – the Steelers, yeah, last few years they've been pretty talented, have underperformed some, but this year he had next to nothing on that team amongst injuries, guys leaving, and now all of a sudden they're still in the hunt for the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, the AFC is not exactly the strongest conference in the world, but it's one of those things where you look at it and you'd think Pittsburgh would be terrible, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're actually in the playoffs right now. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been a really tough one. And then another weird matchup for the AFC would be the Buffalo Bills against the Texans. Both teams have been talented, but if I told you at the beginning of the year that that's going to be a matchup in the playoffs, I think you guys would be looking at me funny for thinking Buffalo would be there.
Well, what happened with Houston this past week? They were down 31-3 against the Broncos at halftime. I mean, I don't think the Broncos put up any more points the rest of the game, but how do you let a team like that? I mean, the Broncos
with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, and he played well. He was shooting lasers like Buzz Lightyear out there. He was having a great old time. But the Broncos have been just doing that to good teams the past few weeks. They did it to my Vikings, and they just did it to Houston, and that really hurts, the Texans' reputation as Super Bowl contenders. I mean, if you can't perform well against the Denver Broncos, it's going to be tough for you.
Well, another thing you have to remember is that it's not as if they have a big lead right now for that division. They're tied right now with the Tennessee Titans.
And I said that last week, and now it's possible.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I agreed with you on that because Ryan Tannehill 6-1 at quarterback. Dude was torching the Raiders' defense. I know the Raiders don't have much defense, but still, he almost put up 400 yards. He looked phenomenal out there. So, Calvin, are you kind of taking back what you're thinking about Tannehill, or are you still going to just wait till next year on it?
I'm still just waiting until next year on it.
Speaking about Ryan Tannehill, let me paint a little story for you here.
Okay, let's hear it.
You ended my fantasy football hopes this past weekend, but I want to tell you something. It was Sunday afternoon. 11 a.m. Game's about to start, and I'm thinking
that's also not afternoon.
11 a.m. Whatever, almost. Sun's up. Whatever. I'm seeing Patrick Mahomes playing the Patriots this weekend, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I should put Tannehill in. Just see what happens. If I had done that, man, story of my life.
You know what's funny? In one of my other leagues, that's a pretty big paid league, and I really value this one the most, as I've always had a really good team every single year, but I had James Conner and Le'Veon Bell. That can kind of tell you enough. I made a trade for Big Ben right before he injured himself. So that's just telling you how my season went. So I get into the playoffs, and I had the idea of either I go Tom Brady or Ryan Tannehill. My idea is, well, last year when the Chiefs and Patriots played both times, it was an offensive shootout. Just because both defenses were just getting torched by great quarterback play. So I'm thinking, all right, we could have a definite duplicate of that. Well, no, Brady only had 12 points and Tannehill had 39 because we have a lot of bonuses in that league. So I ended up losing, but if I put Tannehill in, I would have advanced. So I didn't get the notification Le'Veon Bell decided not to play. So that was another issue for my team.
Decided to go bowling instead.
Yeah, you heard about that as well.
Yeah, and then he's not getting disciplined for it. Adam Gase is just kind of like,
yeah, whatever.
Well, he didn't really technically break any protocols, so I can't tell him to stay home.
Yeah. All right,
They
now
stayed out till 1 a.m. bowling.
All right, now. All right, now jumping back into the playoff picture again, onto the NFC side before we keep going on. Now, Brett, this could bring back some flashbacks for you. It could be good memories, as right now it's the Vikings versus Saints. I'm doing my Booger McFarlane of apparently the Minnesota Miracle was bad for your team. I don't know if you heard that on the Monday night game. I was like, excuse me? How was that bad for them? Oh, wait, you're on Monday Night Football. Okay, I'll let it slide.
Well, coming off of a high like that after such an amazing play, I mean, an argument could definitely be made that didn't help them had they just won the game in a normal fashion. But yeah,
no, we're just going to say
mean,
Booger McFarlane was dumb enough to think that it was the opposite.
Yeah, it was a miracle, and I honestly wish they would have just kept Case Keenum after that season. But enough about that. I think no matter who they play, it's going to be tough because when they play good teams, it's always a really close game. You saw it with Seattle. So
yeah.
We'll
Now I forgot to ask you guys. So on the AFC side, do you think it's going to be Texans or Titans? They're both 8-5 right now. If you had to pick one that'll make it in for the playoffs, who do you go with?
I got to go Titans. I mean, all in. I got to be all in.
I mean, momentum's on their side, but
taking Titans.
I want to take Titans as well. Just the whole thing now is like the momentum's been so hot for them. There's going to be a cool down period. It's going to happen at some point. But I don't want to believe in that, so I'm going Titans too. All right, and then into the final matchup. This would be the 5-4 seed, as it's the 10-3 Seahawks going up against the 6-7 Cowboys. So it's the repeat of last year as well. But for some reason, I could actually see the Cowboys winning this game. And it's not because I'm a Niner fan and I want the Seahawks to go down as usual, because I hate seeing Pete Carroll on the cameras chewing his gum way too viciously, as if he had like some problem with it. But there could be a chance this Cowboys team could just turn things around immediately once they go back into the playoffs. I don't know why. I think it's just because the team is still talented. Like, there should be no reason for this. But am I crazy to think that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're crazy.
Yeah, I think so too. A guy can dream, okay?
There's no way.
At least you admit you have a problem.
I'm admitting it. I agree. But also, there's another team kind of popping up as well in the NFC again, and that's the Rams. They're 8-5 right now. They're not dead yet. They beat the Seahawks, which I am forever grateful for. But I'm kind of calling fool's gold on it. I don't think this team is still legitimate.
I agree with that. They beat the Cardinals pretty badly, and no offense, Calvin, but that's not saying much. Seahawks, I was pretty impressed that they beat them by such a big margin. I would have taken Seattle in that game to win before it started, and then I would have thought it would have been closer. But I don't know. I hope they stay out of the playoffs so that my Vikings stay in the playoffs. That's what I'm going for.
I think your Vikings will be just fine. I don't see anything to
We'll
pull
see
them
how
out
they do
just yet.
against San Diego this week. That could be a risky matchup for them.
Yeah, that could be.
The Rams are just one of those teams to me right now that, I mean, they're good, but they're not great. They just seem to have a number on certain teams. Seattle's been one of them. I mean, really the last decade pretty much. They've always been able to play Seahawks and either beat them or at least keep it close, no matter how good they've been.
Do you think Jared Goff is worth that contract that he got?
Oh, heck no.
No.
No way. That was such an overpay.
Yeah, imagine if he was on a team without those weapons.
That'd be rough.
That'd be rough. You'd be looking
I'd
at
get
like
to watch him with Pat McAfee in the XFL.
Be looking at like a Blaine Gabbert situation.
I don't even want to think of Blaine Gabbert. I got so many memories about that guy. But I wanted to tie it in a little earlier, but I wanted to finish off the NFC for the playoff picture. As we were talking about the Titans and Texans, well, they're playing each other this week. Now, this is going to be a fun game to watch with how great Tennessee has been. I talked about the cool down. It's got to happen at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen this week. We're doing our picks a little early now, but I got Titans.
I got Titans.
I got Titans too, man.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill all the way to the Super Bowl.
I'm just like, you're coming off a loss against a team that you should have beat pretty handily, and then they just beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you recover from that?
Denver Broncos have been the team of December, man. No one would want to play them right now.
Yeah, it's just weird to think of.
Drew Lock.
Like, this is the Denver team that we somewhat thought they could have became at the beginning of the year, but then they just decided to wait after going 0-4 to be like, maybe we'll start trying. I don't really know. We'll just wait till our rookie quarterback comes in. Then he'll fix everything for us. No problem.
I could just imagine, John Elway was just playing golf for the beginning of the season, and then he sees what's happening. He comes in the locker room. He's like, all right, let's walk up in here and motivate these boys.
I keep thinking of the Gridiron Heights episode of Draft Day. We got to put a link into this of John Elway's evaluating a quarterback, or he's evaluating a player, and he says, well, you look like you could be a great fit for this team. And Joe Flacco turns to him and says, Coach, that's a mop. Well, I like that he's tall. That's kind of his whole strategy, how he drafts.
As long as he can see over the offensive line, that's a good start.
As long as he isn't Kyler Murray's height. And also, one other big game that actually has a playoff implications, as both of these teams will be in the playoffs, is the 8-5 Steelers going up against the 9-4 Bills. So it is no offense versus no offense. Great defense versus great defense. Who do you have winning? Because I am so confused right now, as these two teams are literally the exact same right now.
Buffalo all the way. I mean, their offense isn't terrible. It's not great, but I think it's a little bit better and more consistent than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Same with their defense, honestly.
Yeah, Buffalo, I mean, I think you would regret not picking Buffalo, honestly, just how they've been playing lately. I mean, I missed from that Ravens game. I mean, they were the only team to, I'd say, put up a good fight against them, honestly.
Yeah. No, I want to go Buffalo as well, but I'm also just thinking in the back of my mind, it's like, well, this is a Mike Tomlin ran team. He's gonna have a great game plan out there, and they're gonna perform really well. And it's tough to go. It's tough to go with them because they don't have James Conner, Vance McDonald's coming back from injury. They have a guy whose nickname is Duck. Like it's.
He played well this past
Yeah,
weekend.
he did. He also played really well Sunday night against the Chargers.
He's 3-0 as a starter.
Yeah, he played really well. He's been a good quarterback so far. I just find it weird that it's the third string quarterback coming around. Everything's just changing.
Let's just hope no one hits him in the head with a helmet.
Well, he's not playing Myles Garrett for a while, so I think he'll be safe this time. And as we've been talking about the best matchups so far this week, it's time to get down to the toilet bowl matchup. As this week, it's going to be the Miami Dolphins against the New York Giants. Now, Eli Manning is still going to play this game. And on that Monday night game, he played good for a first half. And then he said he just kind of gave up in the second half. And he didn't really want it anymore. So his record now, career is 116, 117. But now he's going up against a Dolphins team that actually has been playing pretty good.
I don't know what Eli's thinking, but I'm sure that one extra loss might get to him at some point. I know it would get to me. And Miami's just not a great team. To me, it's just I feel like this is a game that the Giants should be able to win. And honestly, it's kind of a gut feeling.
I would think so, Brett. Or, I'm sorry, Christoph.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
I don't know why I keep calling you Brett for some reason. I did it last podcast as well when you were supposed to be no name. I don't know what's getting into me.
I'm going to agree with Calvin on this one. I think that, I'm rooting for Eli Manning to get a win. I'm rooting for him to get his all-time record over 500. You can do it, man. But you saw in the game against the Eagles, first half he had a lot of time to throw the ball, and he took a note from Daniel Jones throwing the ball to Slayton.
Mm-hmm. They had 154 yards together in that first half.
Yeah, get the ball to your guy, and he'll make some plays for you. But once the Eagles shut him down in the second half, there was really Eli Manning. I mean, he can't win a game for you anymore.
No, he can't.
But I think he has a good chance against the Dolphins. So, like I said last week, I think he's going to have a good, solid game. Maybe another 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I think this is going to be a big game for Saquon Barkley. And I'm going to go with the Giants this week.
Now, this is the type of matchup I like to hear, where you guys go one team and I go with another. I'm going Dolphins on this one. For one reason only, the New York Giants, if Josh McCown went out there for the Eagles, he probably would have had about 95 receiving yards just because the Giants can't cover their own shadow. I mean, you knew Zach Ertz was the only good thing that they had left, and you wouldn't even double him at all. You just said, yeah, just take it. Just here, half the game. Here,
Yeah, he was
just
basically their only
shoo
receiver
He
out
was
there.
all they had, and they didn't try to double team him or do anything.
I'm pretty sure there were like 2 back-to-back plays where they ran like the same exact
Yeah.
play, threw it to him twice. He got like 40 yards on each play.
Yeah, and for that reason by itself, that's why I'm going with the Dolphins, because I can see Fitzmagic having a 400+ passing day. I mean, the way Devontae Parker's been playing so far, Mike Gesicki, even Baird, that's his name. He's some, I can't say it. Baird is one of the two in Miami. He's actually been all right.
There is something I want to say, though. Ryan
Say it.
Fitzpatrick led the team last week in rushing yards. He got 63 rushing yards. And also, I read he's 15 yards away from being the Dolphins' season-leading rusher over a guy they cut last week,
Oh,
Mark Walton.
yeah, Walton.
So, yeah, that's a pretty interesting note. Ryan Fitzpatrick being your team-leading rusher.
He hasn't even started every week.
Yeah, I think, but I think if the Dolphins are to win this game, it is going to be because of that Giants defense, but I'm still going New York.
All right. Well, now we're going to end it off on the one last thing, as Thursday night's coming up. And now it's time to say a couple good things about both teams. We'll start off with the Jets. Okay, that's enough about the Jets. And now going on to the Ravens.
Wait, one good thing about the Jets.
No.
There's like 2 games left of the season.
Okay, good. Yeah.
No, I do have something.
No, you don't.
We haven't seen any ghosts as of late, so.
But we're not at the games, though. Like, maybe they're just hiding that from the TV just to keep things down.
Maybe Sam Darnold's just pretending they're not there, so he hopes they go away.
They performed an exorcism on the whole building.
Every now and then you see him looking out the corner of his eye. But
All right, and now it's the Jets going up against the 11-2 Ravens. Okay, so all in favor for the Ravens to beat the Jets by 25+, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. It's been a really good one, just going over everything in general, because we haven't hit all 3 sports in one. So look forward to that in the future, and Brett, we'll get your baseball knowledge up a little more.
good luck with that.
Well, I'll be trying. Don't you worry. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's show. I'm Connor.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Brett.
Have a good one. Three Bro Sports would like to thank Anchor FM for sponsoring this podcast and Benjamin Tissot on bensound.com for the amazing intro, outro music.